Hello, this is Jordan Kincaid with NCDPI. Welcome to the third of 3 videos focused on the student UID system. In this video, we're going to take you through the process for searching for a student inside of UID, talk a little bit about reporting functionality inside of UID, and tell you more about duplicate records. This video is intended for staff who regularly work with enrollment records and student update records inside of PowerSchool data managers, LEA coordinators, and DPI support staff. By the end of this video, we hope that you have enough information to be able to describe the 3 different student search types, as well as the different search criteria that are used with each one of those search types. Be able to describe the reporting functionality inside of UID, and for you to be able to describe how duplicate records may be entered into the UID system. Alright, so let's run through how to search for students in UID and then talk a little bit about the reporting functionality. So, when you're ready to search for a student in UID, the first thing you'll do is navigate to the UID web page. A link is listed there, and this is what you'll see when you would make your way to that page. And from here, you'll log in using your NCID credentials. Once you log into the UID system, you'll see a screen kind of like this. The first thing you want to do when you want to search for a student is go up to the upper left-hand corner of the screen, and you'll see 3 white horizontal lines. This is your menu button. So click on that button. You'll see the drop-down menu that appears, and from here you have various options to navigate to different parts of the UID system. In this case, we want to go down to the search subsection. Here you have 2 options. You can search by batch file, or you can search by student. In this case, we're going to click on the student button. So when you're using this search functionality inside of UID, it actually connects to all 253 PowerSchool databases. And this UID system houses all student records in PowerSchool, and it displays demographic information for each student that's pulled from PowerSchool data. Once you've made your way to the search screen inside of UID, this is the screen you'll be presented with. As you can see, there are 3 different options for searching for students. A basic student search, which is what's currently selected on this screen. Advanced search, which we'll talk about, and then also a UID or ID search. For basic student searches, you'll enter in, at a minimum, the first and last name of the student. It also gives you options to submit a middle name if you have it, a suffix, or a date of birth. Once you've entered in your information, you'll click on the search button in the lower right-hand portion of the screen. So after you click on the search button, if UID finds records similar to the student you're searching for, it will return search results back, and this is what it will look like. In this case, 2 students were returned. Over on the left-hand side, you can see the first and last names that it returned, and over on the right-hand side, you can actually see the match score or match probability that the UID system assigned to each one of those search results based on the information that was provided in the basic search screen. Once you determine which student it is that you're looking for, you can click on the student name, and detailed information about that student will be provided. So there's also an option for advanced student searching. So if you're not wanting to start broad, which typically is what you do for a basic search, if you want to narrow your results a little bit, you can use the advanced search function, and here you can see there are many more options for the types of information that you can give to UIDs to search for a specific student. So again, first and last names are required fields, but after that, everything you see is optional. And over on the right, you can see that they've actually given you more options for entering in the LEA code or the local ID that a student may have in PowerSchool, and then address information that you may have to start to narrow your search results down. The third option for searching students is the ID search. If you're not wanting to go broad, if you're wanting to go straight to a student that you already know exists in UID to get more information about that student in the UID system, you can actually enter in the student's UID into the ID field, which is required in this specific search. Once you hit search, it should return any students in the system that have that same ID. Note that you can actually search for an alias ID on this screen as well if you happen to have the alias or alternate ID instead of the UID. So which search should I start with? Let's run through a few examples. So if you have the UID for a student, the most efficient way to find that student UID is to use the UID search. If you do that and no results come back, consider trying the alias ID search if you have that alternate ID. If the search results after you run through the alias ID search are incorrect, consider broadening your search back out by using the basic search function to see if you can find the student that way. If you need more information and you want to expand your search, obviously you can use the advanced search that way. And if you start out without having any ID, you can start with the basic search or the advanced search. So here's a decision tree to run through for when you have access to the student UID that you're looking for. So if you have the ID, the first thing you're going to do is go to the ID search, enter the ID, hit search, and then look at the results that come back. If you get results back, you would then consider whether or not the student that you're looking for is listed in the results. If you see the student you're looking for and you're trying to enroll that student in PowerSchool, you would then go back to the PowerSchool enrollment screen using the ID submitted and the search results found in UID and enter them exactly into the PowerSchool fields for first name, middle name, last name, gender, and date of birth to make sure you're triggering the exact match inside of UID. If, after you've entered the ID into the ID search, you get results back, but you don't see the student you're looking for, then you can consider going back and using the alias search function to see if you can locate your student that way. If you get results back after doing the alias ID search, you would then follow the same protocol for determining if the students that are returned are the student that you're looking for. If so, use that same information in PowerSchool to enroll or update that student. If after the alias ID search it returns results but you don't see the student you're looking for, then you're going to have to broaden your search back out by using the basic search. In the same way, after using the alias search, if you get no results back, you would also go back to the basic search function. So what happens if you're doing a student search without the UID? In this case, you're going to want to start with the basic search. Enter in the first name, last name at a minimum, hit search, and see what results come back. If you do get results, consider whether or not any of the students listed are the ones that you're looking for. If you're enrolling a student in PowerSchool and you do find the search results in UID that you're looking for, use that same student information in the PowerSchool enrollment screen to trigger an exact match in the data submission process. If you do a basic search and you do not get any results back, consider using the alias ID search. Similar to the previous screen, if you do get match results back using the alias ID search, you're going to run through that same process of figuring out if any of the students that are listed are the one you're looking for. If so, use that same student information in the PowerSchool enrollment screen for when you're enrolling that student or updating that student so that UID can find an exact match when it updates the record. If after running through the alias ID search, no results are found, you would then go back to PowerSchool knowing that you couldn't find the student in UID and feeling confident in enrolling that student as a new student. And most likely, if you weren't able to find that student in UID, it's not going to find a match and just create a new record inside of UID. So now that we've talked about how to search for students, we wanted to point out that UID actually has a reporting functionality built into it inside the UID system. To get to the reports page, you would just click on the menu button in the upper hand portion of the screen. And once the drop-down menu is presented, navigate to the More subsection and click on Reports. On the report screen, you'll see that you have access to various types of reports that you can view and download. Alias ID reports, canceled record reports, near match reports, no history reports, and even submission history reports. So now that we've talked about searching for students in UID and downloading reports in UID, I wanted to talk with you about duplicate student records. So just a quick note on duplicate record resolution. Currently, duplicate cleanup processes are handled by NC-DPI staff, but we wanted to include these slides about duplicate records so that you have at least a general understanding of what they are and how they might find their way into the system. So there are a few consequences to erroneous match decisions, the first of which is a duplicate ID. And this can happen when the Create New ID option is selected when the user should have selected the Assign Selected option during a near match decision. So obviously if this happens, the same student is going to have two UID records in the system. Conversely, a shared ID can happen when the user selects Assign Selected option inside of a near match decision instead of Create New ID. So it's basically the inverse of a duplicate ID being created. As we've talked about, duplicate records are created when a student is mistakenly assigned two or more IDs in the system. Overall, the resolution for this is to ID the duplicate records, determine which record is correct, and then retire the other IDs. Once the UID system has been updated, the changes are applied to PowerSchool via a manual edit to alleviate the duplicate. For shared IDs, obviously we talked about this occurs when two separate students are using the same UID. And this is just a graphic to kind of illustrate that point. Even though these are similar students, they're different. But they actually share the same UID. So in this case, once this is identified, the user would then go back into PowerSchool and create a new enrollment record for the second student, if necessary. Alright, so now that we've talked through how to use the search and reporting functionality in UID, and we've gone through what duplicate and shared IDs are, just wanted to provide you with some resources for support. The first link there is to the Student UID webpage, which gives you access to the system, as well as supporting documentation such as quick reference guides and frequently asked questions. The second link is to the NC System admission and withdrawal information webpage. There's a link there for webinar recordings similar to this one, on the NC-SIS recordings webpage. And then the last two links are to the NC-SIS web pages that give you information about any updates that are happening related to systems inside of Homebase. If you have specific questions about enrollments or duplicate students, feel free to contact the Support Center at 919-807-HELP or go to the Remedy portal and log in a ticket online. If you have questions about NCID, feel free to contact your LEA NCID administrator. Thanks so much for watching this video, and I hope it's been helpful in giving you more information about how to use the UID system to search for students, how to use the reporting functionality in UID, and how to ID and understand what duplicate records and shared ID records are.